architecture, we also studied a concurrency control manager. So this program is responsible for managing the concurrent access of elements. Okay, so let us see the points in this. So there are 5 points we are going to study, that is lock-based protocols, deadlock handling, multiple granularity, timestamp based protocols, and validation based protocols. So previously there were few more also were in the syllabus, but that those are removed from the syllabus in your syllabus. So there are few also more points which are dealing with the concurrency control. So let us see first lock based protocols. So here lock, it means that whenever, if anybody is accessing, any transaction is accessing a data item, if that transaction wanted to access that data member, then it should have a lock on that data item. Okay, so this lock is required just to ensure that simultaneously no other transaction is using the same data member. Okay, simultaneously no other transaction is using a same data item. So a lock is a mechanism to control concurrent access to a data item. Now, whether or if all the transactions wanted to perform read operation, it means that for a reading there is no changing in the data. So it means simultaneously multiple transactions can be allowed to perform the read. We know that there are two operations we always do on a database, that is read X and write X. Okay, where reading it means that we are reading a data item from a database, which will create a local copy on a main, that is primary memory. And whenever we are writing write X operation, that local copy will be written back to a database. Okay, so here it means that X is a representative of that value. That value will be taken as a local variable into main memory, will be performed some changes, and then will be written back to a database. So if consider we are performing only read operation and there is no any change done on a variable, that is for example report generation, for calculating the average, for calculating the mean, any task can be there, that monthly surveys, weekly surveys. For this purpose also we might be willing to read a data. So for this purpose, there can be only read operation possible on a database. And if we are performing the changes, then write X operation will be there on a database. So for this purpose, these two operations, there are two types of the logs available on a database. That is a data item. Right now, we are only talking about a data item. Okay. Here, whenever we are trying to log, it deals with a data item. Data item can be a single column value. Data item can be single column. Data item can be a row in a database, or data item can be multiple rows into a database. Right now, for this particular explanation, we are using only single value. For example, I am SS Kadam and I am having any XYZ account into any of the bank, and if I'm having some amount, that amount right now we are taking as a single value. If consider in a table I'm having 5 to 6 columns, then that tuple can be also my data item. But right now for this particular chapter we are dealing with only single value, that is amount. Okay, amount, this is a changeable value. Account number, that is not a changeable value. Again, name, etc., these are all non-changeable values, whereas amount is a changeable value. This value can change frequently, and for this purpose we will take only that value as an explanation. So data item refers to a single value in a database. Now, if consider we are performing two operations, then we need to perform, there are two types of the logs available on a database. So first log is a exclusive, which is also called as X mode, exclusive mode, where this is shown by a capital X. So wherever we wanted to perform read as well as write operation, that a transaction has read the value, performed some changes, and then returned back. In that case, this exclusive lock need to be acquired on a data item. Exclusive lock, it means that whenever that transaction is reading and performing changes, during that period, no other transaction is allowed to perform any other task on that data item. Exclusive, it means that only single transaction can access that data memory. Okay, so data item, whenever we are having exclusive lock on a data item, data item can be read as well as returned to the database. Okay, so whenever we wanted to acquire a lock on a database, so this is written as xlock, that is using xlock instruction. Okay, so whenever we are willing to perform any write operation, we should have exclusive lock on a data item, and for this purpose we are using lock x instruction. So next lock is a shared, that is a S mode lock. So data item can be read. So this allows only a reading of a data value. This lock doesn't grant you the writing value to a database. So this is called as a X lock or S lock. And whenever we wanted to acquire this lock, we can write an instruction lock S. Okay, lock S is a instruction which is used to put a lock on a data item. Okay, so we are willing to perform changes, we are willing to use a data item, to whom we should request these logs. So these logs need to be, it means these log requests from a transaction need to be sent to the concurrency control manager. Okay, this is a program which deals with the isolation, or which maintains a isolation, which decides whether to allow access of the data item or not to allow the data member. Okay, so whenever there is a granting of lock, at that point only a transaction can use that data item and can load data item into main memory and can start performing. If no lock request has been granted, in that case transaction has to wait. Okay, let us see. So so simultaneously, which types of the locks are available? It means how we can decide whether any member is having shared mode, then whether to allow another request or not. So here we are studying about the lock compatibility matrix. Lock compatibility, it means that whatever existing lock is there, with that which other lock can be allowed. So here this table is there. Still people are joining the lecture. Am I clearly audible? So here, this is a lock compatibility matrix. So yes stands for a shared lock, and X stands for a exclusive lock. Okay. So here, if consider any transaction, so these are the existing locks. Okay. So vertical row is regarding the existing locks, and these are the new requests which are made by some another transaction. Okay, So if consider any transaction is holding S lock on a data item and there is a request for S lock, then at this point that request can be granted because sharing of an item doesn't change value and simultaneously multiple transactions can read a same data item. So during this point, it allows that is request will be granted and hence it is a true. So it means that simultaneously multiple transactions can hold shared lock on a data item. Okay. Now, whenever first a transaction considered T1 transaction is holding a shared lock and there is a request for an exclusive lock. Okay. Exclusive lock, it means that another transaction T2 is also willing to read a data item as well as wanted to perform changes and write back to the result. That perform wanted to perform read and write operation. So if consider any transaction, if any transaction is reading the same data item and another transaction is performing the changes, then that will, it means this transaction cannot be allowed to perform the changes as old value is held by a multiple transactions and hence during this period performing the changes will make database into inconsistent state because this T2 if allowed to perform the changes, these are already holding a shared lock and if this transaction has performed the changes, then these transactions are said to be reading a old value. Okay, and hence during this period reading the old value, it means that you are keeping your database into inconsistent state. Okay, and that's why this exclusive lock along with the shared lock is not allowed. Next, if a transaction is already holding a exclusive lock, reading those values simultaneously is not allowed because this transaction might perform few changes on a data item. And for this purpose, simultaneously allowing the shared lock not possible because updated value, this another transaction may not read a updated value. And similarly, if two transactions wanted to perform the right operation, simultaneous access is not allowed because database will be again into inconsistent state. So this is a log compatibility matrix. So here we make a conclusion that simultaneously any number of the shared locks can be there and if there is an either of the transaction is holding an exclusive lock then other request will not be granted. Okay, so let us read the explanation. A transaction may be granted a lock on item if a requested lock is compatible with locks already held on a data item by other transactions. Okay, so these are the already hold locks and these are the new lock request. So if there is a true, then only the lock request will be granted. If there is a false, then request will not be granted. So any number of transactions can hold shared lock on an item, but if any transaction holds an exclusive lock on the item, no other transaction may hold any lock on a data item. So it means along with the exclusive lock, no other lock is compatible and hence request will not be granted. So this is just a schedule wherever locking and unlocking can be allowed. Consider, so this is a time domain that from top to bottom we are reaching with the higher time domains and there are two transactions simultaneously executing and this is my concurrency control manager and both are using a data item A and B. Okay, so two data items they are using. Now let us read start with the first T1 transaction. Okay, so whether this slide is clearly visible. So here T1 transaction request, first it requests that it wanted to use that data item B and in exclusive mode because T1 might be willing to perform write operation also, and hence will send a request for exclusive lock on a data item B. Okay, so this request will be sent to the concurrency control manager. So concurrency control manager will check whether any other transaction is holding a lock on B. If so, whether lock is compatible. If no, then request will not be granted. Right now there is no lock on a data item. So it means that this concurrency control manager will grant X lock on an item B by T1 to transaction T1. So this is how a grant request is written, that grant X lock on item B, data item B for T1. So after holding the lock, after holding the lock only, that transaction T1 can perform read or write operation on a data item. And hence, this after granting the lock request, this will read a data item B, will deduct the value by 50, that another copy, local copy, whatever value is there, to that it will perform the changes, will write back the result, and then unlock B. So unlock, it means that whatever the lock T1 is holding, that will be released. So unlocking is necessary just because T1 further may not be requiring for a B, variable B. And hence after that other transaction can use the same data item. Okay, that is their request can be granted. For this purpose, this T1 will release item B and next carry out with the operation. So next, after unlocking the B, T2 transaction may request a data item A, lock on a data item A. So here there is a shared lock on a data item. So T2 is requesting lock S on a data item A. Concurrency control manager will check whether there is any other lock hold on A. If so, whether current request can be granted. If yes, this will grant a shared lock on A for T2 transaction. Next, after granting a shared lock, T2 can perform only read operation on a A. So for this purpose, so this will read item A, will unlock A, that no more needed A, that's why this will again unlock. Then T2 might be willing to perform lock S on B. So S B is already released by T1. So this will again T2 will request for shared lock on B. So as there is no lock holding on a B, so this lock will be this request can be granted. Hence, this will read a data item B, will unlock B and display A plus B. So this is a transaction T2 which is reading data item A and data item B and displaying the addition of these two. Okay. And next one, if consider transaction T1 is willing to have exclusive lock on A. If transaction T1 is willing to have exclusive lock on A, this will send the request. Request will be granted as there is no lock available hold on A. This will grant exclusive lock on data item A to T1. This will read data item, will perform changes, write the changes, and will unlock A. So okay, this is a how this transactions, that is concurrency control manager, works. So this is the only slide where we have used this concurrency control. So henceforth, whatever this part is there, that concurrency control manager, that will be skipped. It means will be omitted. Henceforth, it means wherever next transactions are there, only lock and unlock request will be there. Grant part will not be there. So in this way, lock requests are put and granted. So any doubt in this? Any doubt in this?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
can you explain once more? Because I didn't understood from log
Okay.
based protocol.
Okay. I will explain. So here, lock-based protocol, it means that lock-based protocol, it means that we wanted to achieve concurrency. Concurrency, it means that simultaneous access of multiple transactions. So for this purpose, so I will skip to the present slide mode. If consider that, okay, now consider that here I am having T1 starting, here I am having T2 starting. T2 starting. If consider this is also wanted to use A, okay, and this is also wanted to use A. At the same time, both transactions cannot uh, allow to access the changes. If yes, both are willing to read, then they can read. If both are willing to write, then this transaction may perform writing of A to 100. Consider T1 wanted to write that A equal to 100 and T2 will write as 200. Okay, if both are allowed to perform this write operation, neither of the value will be correct. Okay, just like we have taken an example that this transaction is willing to uh, add, consider 100 to the existing value, and this transaction is willing to add 200 to the existing value, and consider that we are having the initial value of A as 500. Okay, this is my initial value. If this transaction is perform the changes, this will write value as a 600, and this transaction is willing to perform if
Hello, ma'am.
yes.
Hello, ma'am. Sorry for interruption, but your screen is not visible.
Screen. Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. You have to present your screen.
Because of that escape, that from presentation mode to normal mode, this was not visible. Now is it visible?
Yeah, ma'am. It's visible now. You can continue.
Yes. So here we are studying how the lock-based protocol works. So we have studied that in the isolation. Isolation, it means that if consider A is my initial value as 500, this is a shared value. So if transaction T1 is willing to add 100 to the A and T2 transaction is willing to add 200 to the A. If simultaneously both operations are allowed, then this will write A's value as 600 and this will write A's value as 700. Okay. So out of this, none of the value is correct because there are two operations done and resultant value should be 800. But we are neither getting after writing of this, neither writing, we are getting writing of this. It means that whenever this transaction T1 is performing writing of value, T2 should not be allowed to write. Okay, T2 should not be allowed to write. Or whenever T2 is performing write operation, T1 should not be allowed. So it means that here, whenever A is being used by either T1 or T2, none of the other transactions should be allowed to read that value. We are right now talking about a write operation. Okay, so if consider this is using, then this transaction should not be allowed to read that data item. So database is always in shared mode. Then how we can consider that this transaction T2 might be executing on another machine or by another process, as our processors are multi-processing. These might be willing to access the same data. For this purpose, we are using a concurrency control. What concurrency manager will do? If consider T1 is performing some write operation on A, this will lock that data item. Locking it means that whenever we are locking this data item, even though T2 is accessing, T2 is having facility to read that data item, because of locking, this T2 will get blocked. T2 will get blocked that this A right now you cannot use. For this purpose, we are locking this data item. Lock it means that right now this data item will not be allowed to read by some another transaction. This data item will be locked, and hence if considered initially T1 is reading the value, this T2 will not be allowed to read that data item. And hence locking it means that T1 ने एकदा लॉक अक्वायर केले की T2 ला अलाउड नाहीये की बाबा दुसरं कुणीही डेटा आयटम, नॉट ओनली T2, neither T3, neither T4, any other transaction will not be allowed to read that data item. Yeah, whenever the T1 is performing the changes, this data item will be locked. Locked it means that no other transaction cannot access that data item. Now T1 has already performed changes, written back the new value, and hence my A will be resulting to 600. And after releasing lock it means that T1 has done with the purpose of A. Then T2 can be allowed to read the value. If T2 is reading that value, then it means that simultaneously no other transaction will be allowed to read that data item. Let it be T3, let it be T4, or let it be T1 itself. Okay. Then at this point, this will make my value to the 800. Locking it means that whenever any other transaction is using that data item, no other transaction will be allowed to read or write that data item. Okay. Lock म्हणजे कळालं?
Yeah, ma'am, it's getting.
Okay, any other buddy is facing the same problem that you don't understand the lock? लॉक म्हणजे काय? एखादी गोष्ट आपण लॉक करून ठेवतो म्हणजे काय? की ते जोपर्यंत अनलॉक होत नाही तोपर्यंत त्या गोष्टीला आपल्याला ऍक्सेस मिळत नाही. Similarly, the same concept is applied here. If consider we are locking a data item, तो डेटा आयटम त्या वेळेसाठी जोपर्यंत तो रिलीज होत नाही, जोपर्यंत त्याच्यावरचं लॉक निघत नाही तोपर्यंत तो यूज करायला अलाउड नाही. मग लॉक केलं म्हणजे काय की तो डेटा आयटम डेटाबेस मध्ये आहे, पण तो सध्या काहीतरी चेंजेस म्हणजे अपडेशन मोड मध्ये आहे. सो अदर विल नॉट बी अलाउड टू रीड द डेटा आयटम. मग ज्यावेळेस त्याचं अपडेट कम्प्लीट होईल, त्यावेळेस त्याचं लॉक रिलीज होईल, त्यावेळेला हा वी कॅन गो फॉर द फर्दर यूज. नाव हिअर कन्सिडर करा की मला फक्त व्हॅल्यू रीडच करायची. ओके, वी ओनली वॉन्टेड टू रीड द व्हॅल्यू. In that case, whether A is reading the value, so A will read the value as 500, T2 will also read the value as 500. If both transactions are performing only read operation, okay, then it doesn't make any difference. म्हणजे एकाने वाचली किंवा 100 जणांनी वाचली, it is not going to change the context. And for this purpose there are two types are made. म्हणजे रीड ऑपरेशन असेल तर वेगळं लॉक आणि राईट असेल तर वेगळं लॉक. Okay, so for this purpose if consider only the transaction is willing to read only data item, फक्त रीडच करायचं आहे, राईट ऑपरेशन करायचंच नाही. सो इन दॅट केस इट अक्वायर्स अ शेअर्ड मोड, म्हणजे त्याच्यासोबत दुसरी कुठली तर ट्रान्झॅक्शन म्हणजे शेअर करू शकतात फक्त रीडिंग साठी. But if we wanted to perform read as well as write operation, then it should be locked in a exclusive mode. Exclusive म्हणजे ज्यावेळेस त्या व्हॅल्यूला अपडेशन होतं त्यावेळेला दुसरी कुठलीही ट्रान्झॅक्शन ती डेटा आयटम ऍक्सेस करू शकत नाही. एक्सक्लुझिव्ह म्हणजे काय की दोघांमध्ये काहीच कॉमन नाही. शेअर्ड म्हणजे काहीतरी कॉमन आहे. बोथ आर रीडिंग म्हणजे ते दोघंही सेम व्हॅल्यू रीड करू शकतात. एक्सक्लुझिव्ह म्हणजे काय, हा राईट करत असताना तो नाही करणार, तो करत असताना हा नाही करणार. ओके, सो दॅट इज मीनिंग ऑफ एक्सक्लुझिव्ह मोड wherever we are writing, and shared mode whenever only reading operation is there. So if consider this is the two types of the mode, two types of the locks are there, then simultaneously which other transactions can acquire the lock. So this is a compatibility matrix. Compatibility matrix म्हणजे काय, जर समजा माझं एक्झिस्टिंग लॉक जर असेल तर पुढची कुठली रिक्वेस्ट माझी ग्रांट होऊ शकते. समजा एखादा डेटा आयटम ए आहे, त्याच्यावर शेअर्ड लॉक आहे, म्हणजे फक्त रीडिंग ऑफ व्हॅल्यू आहे, तर दुसरी ट्रान्झॅक्शन येऊन फक्त रीडिंगची रिक्वेस्ट टाकू शकतात, म्हणजे शेअर्डची रिक्वेस्ट टाकू शकतात. Just like here we are having, sorry, here we are having only reading of A and B. ओके, इथं फक्त आपण दोन्हींचं ही रीड केलंय आणि व्हॅल्यू ऍडिशन करून डिस्प्ले केली, जसे की आपले मंथली रिपोर्ट असतात एक्सेट्रा. सो इन दॅट केस वी माइट बी विलिंग टू परफॉर्म ओनली रीड ऑपरेशन. जर दोन्हीही ट्रान्झॅक्शन रीडच ऑपरेशन करत असतील तर त्यावेळेला दोघांनाही ते ऑपरेशन अलाउड आहे. पण समजा एखाद्या ट्रान्झॅक्शन एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक घेतला आहे, एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक म्हणजे ती ट्रान्झॅक्शन तो डेटा आयटम मॉडिफाय करणार आहे, तर त्यावेळेला दुसऱ्या कुठल्याही ट्रान्झॅक्शनला ती व्हॅल्यू रीड पण करू शकत नाही आणि ती व्हॅल्यू राईट पण करू शकत नाही. बिकॉज हिअर अनलेस अँड अंटिल दिस ट्रान्झॅक्शन रिलीज अ लॉक, म्हणजे एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक म्हणजे काय, त्याचं रीडिंग अजून कम्प्लीट व्हायचंय तोपर्यंत एकतर हे रिक्वेस्ट जर ग्रँट केली म्हणजे ते ओल्ड व्हॅल्यू रीड करणार, आणि येणे चेंजेस केले म्हणजे काय की ती जे काय व्हॅल्यू रीड करते ती चुकीची असणार. सो फॉर दिस पर्पज whenever there is an exclusive lock, no other lock is allowed on that data item. And if a transaction is holding only shared lock, समजा फक्त शेअर्डच आहे, तर दुसऱ्या ट्रान्झॅक्शनला फक्त शेअर्ड लॉकच मिळू शकतं, दुसरं कुठलंही लॉक मिळू शकत नाही. Okay, clear with this?
Yeah, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay. Anybody else is facing the problem regarding the understanding? Uh, Keep in mind that whatever our second section is there, so this is completely a theory based section is there, and because of this there are more chances of scoring into this second section. Okay, only you need to know the hard concept and then you can write by your own. Okay, that is the beauty of this second section. And out of complete syllabus, I mostly like transaction, concurrency, and recovery. These three chapters are my favorite from the complete database, where we are not implementing, but actual use of database is there wherever it's there in the real life. That is being covered into this three chapters. Okay, so please try to clear your things into class itself so that you need not to face any much more problem later on. So here, whenever there is a compatibility true is there, during that period only the shared and new locks are allowed. And in case of exclusive mode, no other locks are allowed. So this was the lock compatibility. So this is a, actually we had not covered this. We directly jump to the next point, that is a schedule. So schedule, it means that if multiple transactions are executing, there are various ways to execute the transaction. This is one way. Schedule, it means that as the time progresses, which operations are done on a database. So this is my transaction T1. This is my transaction T2, and here we are having a concurrency control manager. So here we discussed about locking the data item. म्हणजे लॉक करायचं म्हणजे त्या ट्रान्झॅक्शनला यूज करायचं. मग मल्टिपल ट्रान्झॅक्शन्स इंडिपेंडेंटली एक्झिक्यूट होतात. So it means that there should be a other special unit which should coordinate with all the transactions and decide whether to lock that request or not to lock that request. For this purpose, we are having this program as a concurrency control manager. So this is responsible for granting, that is allowing the lock or not to allow the lock. that is whether to allow access of the data item or not to allow that access. So here T1 and T2, these two transactions are there, and concurrency control manager, this is responsible whether T1 can access any of the data item or T2, or in which mode they can access. Okay, so there are two types of the locks are there, shared and exclusive. So first is a lock X. Lock X, it means that this is a request for an exclusive lock. So this is the instruction which is used for requesting a lock on a data item. So B is written, it means that this transaction T1 is requesting for an exclusive lock on data item B. Those all requests will be sent to the concurrency control manager. So concurrency control manager will check whether there is any existing lock available on a data item B. If not, that request will be granted. Okay, so this will grant exclusive lock on item B to the T1 transaction. Okay, this is how this grant request is written. So after granting, T1 can use that data item. So exclusive lock, it means that T1 can perform read and write both operations. So T1 has read this data item B, has deducted 50 from the B, and then written back 50 to the data bus. And after writing back, T1 may not be willing to keep that data item, so unlock B. So unlocking, it means that releasing a lock. Releasing the lock, it means that T1 doesn't need B anymore, and hence this is allowing access of B to the other transactions. Okay, so right now there is no lock on neither A neither B. Previously this grant request was there, so this request will be hold, that this request is available with T1 unless and until T1 is releasing the data item. जोपर्यंत T1 माझा अनलॉक इन्स्ट्रक्शन एक्झिक्यूट करत नाही तोपर्यंत B वर T1 चं लॉक राहणार. ओके, सो अनलॉकिंग रिक्वेस्ट दोघांचीही सेम असते, शेअर्ड आणि एक्सक्लुझिव्हची सेम असते. विच एवर लॉक इट इज हॅव्हिंग, दिस विल रिलीज द लॉक. सो नाव नेक्स्ट हे अनलॉक केल्यानंतर नेक्स्ट वी आर हॅव्हिंग अ स्टेटमेंट फ्रॉम द T2. So this is with the time switching. So now T2 transaction is requesting for a shared lock on A. Shared, it means that this is willing to perform only read operation on a A. Concurrency control manager will check whether A is held by some another transaction. If not, this will allow the request, or this will grant the request to access. So grant S, that is shared lock on A for the T2. So now T2 is holding a shared lock on A. Shared, it means that this can perform only read operation. So this has read the value of A. Now this has also unlocked A. Unlock, it means that right now there is no lock on A. Then it is requesting for a shared lock on item B. Now here, this was previously holding the lock, but this was unlocked. So unlocking, it means that right now there is no lock on B, and hence again this will grant a request of shared lock on B. Now this will read a data item B, will release B, and will display A plus B. Okay, transaction T2 has read A and B's value and displayed the addition. Next, transaction T1 is willing to put exclusive lock on A. It will send a request to the concurrency control manager. Concurrency control manager will check with the compatibility. If yes, will grant the request. As there is no lock, this will grant the request. T1 will read item A, will add 50 to A, will write back the value, and will release the A. Okay, so this is one of the schedules, or this is how lock requests are granted. and locks requests are put by the transactions and released by the transactions. So here a locking is important because here whenever this request has been granted in between this time period that it has read the value perform changes, during this period if any other transaction is willing to access B, still that request will not be granted. Okay, it means that unless and until concurrency control manager has granted the request, it means that unless and until there is unlocking, no other transaction will be allowed to read that data item, and hence we are achieving the isolation. Isolation simultaneously only one transaction performs operations on that data item in mutually exclusive manner. So this forces serializability. It means this will restrict schedules to simultaneous access, and hence this will achieve the serializability one after the other.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I'm having the question on stout.
yes,
Ma'am,
huh?
if both transaction using the shared lock and both are requesting for means both are requesting for locking, okay, then
Huh.
which one request is first of all grant?
Okay, consider that here transaction T2 is requesting for a shared lock on A, and this T1 is also requesting a shared lock on A. Okay, so if consider both transactions are requesting the same data item, so कॉन्करन्सी कंट्रोल मॅनेजरकडे जी रिक्वेस्ट पहिल्यांदा येते म्हणजे असं नाही की म्हणजे यांचं टायमिंग नॅनो सेकंड्स मध्ये असणार आहे, नॅनो सेकंड सुद्धा डिफरन्शिएट नाही झाले असं तर नाही होणार. म्हणजे ऍट अ मोमेंट ऑफ टाइम दोन्ही पण रिक्वेस्ट एकदम आल्या असं नाही होणार. आपला प्रोसेसर नेहमी टाइम स्विच मोड मध्ये यूज होतो. मग टाइम स्विचिंग मध्ये सायमल्टेनियसली दोन्हीच्या दोन्ही रिक्वेस्ट पाठवणं असं कधीच नाही होणार. त्या दोघांमध्ये टाइमचा स्लाइट डिफरन्स का होईना असणार. मग त्या केसमध्ये समजा ह्या दोन्ही म्हणजे आता जे हे आपण ट्रान्झॅक्शन एक्झिक्यूट केले तिथं कुठेही आपण सायमल्टेनियसली दोन स्टेटमेंट्स बघितलेले नाही. दोन स्टेटमेंट्स म्हणजे काय की माझा प्रोसेसर दोन इन्स्ट्रक्शन सायमल्टेनियसली एक्झिक्यूट करतोय, तसं कधीही होत नाही. माझा प्रोसेसर ऍट अ टाइम कुठलं तरी एकच इन्स्ट्रक्शन एक्झिक्यूट करू शकतो. हा, इफ कन्सिडर दिस इज ऑल्सो रिक्वेस्टिंग अ लॉक अँड दिस इज ऑल्सो रिक्वेस्टिंग अ लॉक, ज्याला कुणाला ग्रांट केलेला आहे तो ती ट्रान्झॅक्शन ते डेटा आयटम यूज करणार. आणि समजा या पॉइंटला परत एकदा T1 ला शेअर्ड लॉक हवाय ए साठी. ए साठी शेअर्ड लॉक आहे, दिस विल चेक की म्हणजे बाबा शेअर्ड लॉक आहे, शेअर्ड कॉम्पॅटिबल आहे. दिस विल ऑल्सो अलाव अ शेअर्ड लॉक टू T1. हा, T1 ची जर समजा रिक्वेस्ट असेल की एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक साठी आहे, तर त्या केसमध्ये the exclusive lock of T1 will not be get granted. त्या केसमध्ये T1 चं लॉक जे आहे ते ग्रांट होणार नाही. ते कधी ग्रांट होईल, ज्यावेळेस माझा T2 रिलीज करेल ए, या वेळेला मग इथं माझं इन्स्ट्रक्शन येईल ग्रांट या एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक ऑन ए टू T1 असे येईल. कळालं का तुम्हाला? हेच आन्सर एक्सपेक्टेड होतं का तुम्हाला?
हा मॅम, हा कळालं.
हा. Okay. May I move to the next point now? Any other doubt? Anybody else is facing the problem? Nobody else is facing the problem. So let us move to the next point. So here we are into second point of the syllabus, that is deadlock handling. So let us see first what is a deadlock. Okay. So Here, a partial schedule is given that transaction T3 and T4 are there. So, whether the screen is visible to you? Yes, T3 and T4 are there, and there are two data items A and B are there, which T3 and T4 are willing to use. Okay. Now, initially, T3 will put a request for a exclusive lock on B. So that request will be granted by concurrency control manager. So T3 will read that data item, will perform the changes to B, will write back the result. And in future, T3 might be willing to B. That's why it will not release a lock on B. Right now, T3 is holding a exclusive lock on item B. Next, after that T4 transaction started execution. Now T4 has put a shared lock on A, has read the data item A, and T4 is willing to read a data item B. Okay, so now here this will wait for a lock. So this lock request is sent to the concurrency control manager. So concurrency control manager knows that there is an exclusive lock already held by the T3. So this will keep this request as a pending. So this request is pending here in the T4, and this request is pending. So processor decided to execute the next statement of the T3, and T3 is willing to put exclusive lock on A. So now this request will be given to the concurrency control managers, and concurrency control manager checks that there is already shared lock on A is there. So this will also keep this request as a pending request. So here we can see that T4 is willing for B to perform ready, and T3 is willing for waiting for A to perform writing. So it means that there is a circular wait. T3 T4 रिलीज करेल म्हणून वेट करते की बाबा B रिलीज कर आणि मला दे, and T4 is willing that B should be released by T3 and it should get the access. So this it it means that one there is a circular waiting of a this transaction. So this will keep database to this will through this way our database will reach into deadlock state. Deadlock state, it means that there is a circular waiting of a data item to release the locks. So let us see what is mean by a deadlock in definitions. Neither T3, neither T4 can make a progress. Now, both cannot execute the next statement unless and until request will be granted. These cannot proceed with the transactions. Executing lock S on B, okay, causes T4 to wait for T3 to release its lock on B, while executing lock X on A causes T4 to wait for T3 to wait for T4 to release its lock on A. So such situation is called as a deadlock. So for handling the deadlock, we must have rollback either of these transactions. Either T4 should be rolled back or T3 should be rolled back. So this is the only way to handle the deadlock. Okay, deadlock, it means that there is a circular weightage, that is circular waiting of a transactions, and hence database cannot proceed with the next operations. Clear? Clear what is mean by a deadlock?
Yeah, ma'am, it's clear. You can continue.
Okay. Here it means whatever locking protocols are there, it means this is just we started that shared and exclusive are there. There are multiple variations of locking protocols are there. So in almost every locking protocol, there is a possibility of deadlock is there. So deadlocks are necessary evil. It means these need to be taken care of. So, and there is also one more possibility in the concurrency that in locking protocols. a starvation may occur. Starvation, it means that here we know that shared lock, if any transaction is holding, other transaction can request for a shared lock and the request will be granted. If consider any other transaction is waiting for an exclusive lock on the same data item, okay, consider that T2 is holding a shared lock on A and T1 is waiting for an exclusive lock on A. Okay, exclusive lock, it means that along with a shared lock, that request will not be granted. If consider after T2 was about to complete, but at the before completion, T3 has arrived and T3 has arrived for a shared lock on A. At that point, as shared compatible is there, so T3's request will be granted. So T2 has already released that data item, but as lock is held by the T3, shared lock is held by T3. Again, concurrency control manager will not release the lock. After T3, there is a T4 which is willing for shared lock on A. Again, that request will be granted, and so on. So it means that if a starvation may happen for a T1 because of a series of shared locking on a data item. Okay, so a transaction may be waiting for X lock on an item while a sequence of other transactions request and are granted on S lock on the same data item. So the same transactions need to be rolled back due to deadlock. So the first case of starvation was done, and if consider in the previous state whatever deadlock we have seen, deadlock situation we have seen. So here there are ways to decide which transaction to be rolled back. Right now we have taken example of only two transactions. There might be multiple transactions which are involving into deadlock. Might be three, might be four, might be seven, six, etc. So in that case, it might happen that only single transaction is always chosen for a rollback. If consider either of the transaction is chosen for a rollback, then a rollback, it means that whatever the items held by that transaction are there, those will be released. Those release will be given to the next transaction. Again, that transaction will complete the execution, will release, and hence all the remaining transactions we can continue with the implementation or execution. But if consider if there are seven transactions and each time the transaction T1 is always chosen for a rollback, then this is called as a starvation. So here there are many it means many ways are there to select a victim, that is whatever transaction is chosen for a rollback, that is called as a victim. So there are ways to choose a victim. For example, someone might choose that the transaction which just initiated, जी transaction just सुरू झाली ती rollbackingला घ्या, किंवा we also may decide that a transaction which is about to complete or which is shortest one, etc. There are many ways. It means not decided, but there are many ways to choose a transaction for rollback. So whenever any transaction is chosen, that will be called as a victim transaction. And this might happen that each time, whenever there are a set of transactions are there, the same transaction is chosen for a rollback in case of deadlock. So this should not happen. Okay. So for this purpose, we always must decide the concurrency control manager, which will uh, prevent a starvation. Okay, read this slide for a minute. So now let us see which other locking protocols are there. It means locking exclusive and shared we have seen. But there are many ways to implement this locking. So out of that, the most widely used is a two-phase locking protocol. So let us see what is a two-phase locking protocol. So two-phase it means that there are two phases in which this locking mechanism works. So uh, first phase is a growing phase. Growing phase it means that this is the phase during which locks are obtained on a data item. Okay, so this phase only request for a lock request. That is, let it be shared, let it be uh, exclusive mode. But this is the phase during which only lock requests are sent to the concurrency control manager, and no locks are released on an item. That is, no locks are released. So it means that previously we were having the combined statement lock, unlock, etc. So this doesn't happen in this. Initially, in the first phase, all the lock requests are sent to the concurrency control manager. That's why this is called as a growing phase. Growing phase it means that this goes on increasing the data items for the locking, and no locks are released. And the next phase is a it means second phase is a shrinking phase. Shrinking phase it means that during this phase only release of locks is obtained. No lock requests are sent to the concurrency control. This means in growing, only lock requests are sent, and in shrinking, only unlock requests are sent. And that's why this protocol is called as a two-phase locking protocol. So this protocol ensures conflict serializability. Conflict serializability it means that whenever we are converting any concurrent schedule to any serializable schedule by deciding the conflictability. Conflictability means that whenever there are two statements, that is two requests are there, so out of that one must be at least one must be right operation. So at that point only conflict arises, and hence conflict serializability it means that if any concurrent schedule we can convert into serializable schedule, then we can say that there is a concurrent serializable schedule. So here two phases, growing phase and shrinking phase. So in between the operations are done on a data item. So this will be called as a lock phase. That is lock points are there during which transaction acquires lock and can use those data items. So take a minute and please read this slide.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can you explain how one transaction can go through from one phase to another phase, like from growing phase to shrinking phase?
Okay. Okay. So this is a okay. This is it. Yes, this one. Okay, so here we are having lock request, and this is we are having unlock request. So in two-phase locking protocol, this unlock request will not be made here. Okay, instead of that, this unlock will be at the end of my transaction. Okay, so let us take an example of T2. So in the T2 we are having lock on S, read unlock A. So instead of unlocking this A at this point, this unlock request will come at the use of B. Okay, so we will interchange this lock A, lock B will come at this point. Then this transaction will have lock request, lock S of A, read A, lock S of B, and then read B. So wherever up to this point, my growing phase will be there. That growing phase, it means that this transaction is requesting for a lock, and whenever there is unlock request are there, at this point this will have a shrinking phase. So this is a schedule. म्हणजे हे काय टू फेजचं एक्झाम्पल नाहीये, पण समजा ही अनलॉक स्टेटमेंट जे आहे ते मी इथून काढलं आणि खाली जर टाकलं ह्या अनलॉक बी नंतर, देन दिस शेड्यूल और दिस ट्रान्झॅक्शन सिक्वेन्स वी कॅन सी दॅट दिस इज इन अ टू फेज. Wait just a minute. Yes, this one. So this is a one of the this is a transaction T1. So we can say that this transaction is in a two phase if we are having this unlock statement at this point. Okay. Now I can say that this is my growing phase. This is the lock acquisition. That is this is lock acquisition, and this is my shrinking phase. So this is one schedule where we can see that this is a two-phase locking protocol. सो म्हणजे टू फेज मध्ये पण व्हॅरिएशन्स आहेत, स्ट्रिक्ट रिग्रस वगैरे. In that there are variations that first acquire all the locks. Okay, acquire all the locks and then only you can use a data item. So this will be, then I can say that this is my uh, growing phase, this is my lock acquisition, and this is my shrinking phase in this way.
Yeah, ma'am. Now I got it. You can continue.
Okay. Okay. So Soham's question is that if two multiple transactions are waiting for exclusive lock, one of the transaction will get access, one of the transactions request will be granted, and what if there are what if there is a shared lock request? Okay, so consider that this transaction T1 is requesting for a exclusive lock, This transaction T2 is requesting for a shared lock, and lock is held by some T3 transaction. Then concurrency control manager will decide whether to give request to the whether to grant request of T2 or whether to grant request of T1. So concurrency control managerचे शेड्यूल करायचे स्वतःचे वे आहेत. First come first serve or shortest job first. This is decided by the concurrency control manager. म्हणजे असं नाही की माझं एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक आहे आणि हा खूप वेळ वेटिंग आहे. In that case, it may allow the exclusive lock on T1, will keep T2 to waiting, and after completion of T1 or unlocking the member by the T1, T2's request will be granted. So there is no any fixed rule or it means असं काही म्हणजे त्याच्या त्याच्या शेड्यूलनुसार ते करतोय की बाबा पहिली कुणाची आली आहे, दुसरी कुणाची आली आहे. So here म्हणजे T1 at a time only one request will get an exclusive lock. If T1 is holding an exclusive lock, this T2 might request for exclusive, T3 might request for sorry, shared. In that case, concurrency manager will decide whether to grant request of T2 or whether to grant request of T3. This will again follow the procedure that starvation should not happen. म्हणजे असं होऊ नये की यानं एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक मागितलंय, मी शेअर्ड लॉक अलाउ केलं आणि याची रिक्वेस्ट होईपर्यंत परत एखादी ट्रान्झॅक्शन आली आणि त्यानं शेअर्ड लॉक ऍक्वायर केलं, मग टी2ला माझं स्टार्वेशन होईल. So concurrency manager will also take care that no transaction starvation should happen. So this will decide whose first request is there. If T2 is requesting, then allow the request. Let T1 and T2 are having the same exclusive lock, that is willing for exclusive lock. Either of them will get grant request and other have to wait. Other have to wait, and during the waiting, if other transaction comes and sends the request, that transaction also need to wait for the lock. Okay, so this is how this concurrency control manager will work. Let me know if I answered your question. Okay. So this is a growing and shrinking phase. So two-phase locking is having multiple variations: strict two-phase locking, rigorous two-phase locking. In that, there are rules that initially only you acquire the lock, at the end only you acquire release the lock. It means there are variations. So let us see the variations. So two-phase locking does not ensure freedom from the deadlock. So it means that here this doesn't guarantee that deadlock will not be there, but reduces the percentage of the deadlock. Okay, so there are two. It means whatever right now we have seen, that is a basic two-phase locking. So recoverability from freedom from cascading rollback. कॅस्केडिंग रोल बॅक म्हणजे एका ट्रान्झॅक्शनमुळे जर मल्टिपल ट्रान्झॅक्शन जर रोल बॅक करावं लागत असतील तर त्याच्याऐवजी ते नाही होत. Two-phase locking. Two-phase locking avoids the cascading rollbacks. So first one is a strict two-phase locking. Strict two-phase locking says that whatever your exclusive locks are there, you must hold until my transaction commits or aborts. Okay. In case of strict two-phase locking, it ensures that a transaction must hold all its exclusive locks unless this reaches to a commit or abort statement. Okay. It means that whatever the last example we have seen, here whenever there is a commit is there, after that it is a displaying, so after that my unlock request should be there. So this unlocking should happen at this point. before it means up to commit, and hence after this the last statement should be commit only. There should not be any statement, executable statement, or any operation after the unlock. Unlock, as this is a shared lock, so shared lock can be released before commit. But wherever there is exclusive locks are there, right now both are shared locks are there. But whatever exclusive locks are there, they should be hold up to the commit statement. This is a strict two-phase locking. So, strict two-phase locking says that a transaction must hold all its exclusive locks till it commits or aborts. So, this ensures that recoverability and avoids cascading rollbacks. So, as these are holding an exclusive lock, it means that during this period, any other grant request will not be, it means any other lock request will not be granted. And if transaction is committing, then other transaction need not to roll back that these have read the wrong value, etc. So whatever cascading rollbacks is there, that is avoided because of this strict two-phase locking. So this is strict two-phase is regarding only exclusive lock. Then rigorous two-phase locking. Rigorous two-phase locking says that you must hold all the locks till commit or abort. Let it be shared or let it be exclusive. So this says that a transaction must hold all locks till commit or abort. So let it be shared or let it be exclusive. All the locks should be carried out to the up to the commit. So this ensures a serializability that, uh, of course, that is cascading rollbacks are avoided in strict two-phase locking only, and regress is more strict than the strict two-phase locking, and this holds all the locks up to the shared mode. But because of this rigorous two-phase locking, this achieves less concurrency. It means utilization is less because here, as there is a all locks are allowed, it means sharing of items is not allowed, and hence this will not allow that much isolation, that concurrency as compared to the strict phase. म्हणजे जेवढं कॉन्करन्सी स्ट्रिक्ट टू फेज मध्ये अलाव म्हणजे अचीव होती तेवढी रिग्रस मध्ये नाही होत. बिकॉज सायमल्टेनियसली शेअरिंगचा रिलीज जरी म्हणजे इन बिटवीन इथे शेअरिंगचा आपण रिलीज करू शकतो, तसं इथं शेअरिंगच्या रिलीज नाही करू शकत. So, so whatever databases are there, mostly they are preferring only basic two-phase locking. Basic म्हणजे कधी पाहिजे तेव्हा पहिल्यांदा initially all the locks घ्या, and after when you come to know that yes you are not in need of any of the data item, then you can start releasing the data items. So simply two-phase locking is preferable. So rigorous two-phase locking is mostly widely used because this always keeps database into consistent state, no cascading rollbacks, and uh, no any role that is more strict than all the database, all the locking protocols. So please read these definitions for a while. So let us see the example. So here, whatever two-phase locking is there, uh, doesn't have a serializability condition as a mandatory condition. So conflict serializability is achieved by the two-phase locking. Conflict serializability means that whenever there is a schedule is there which can be converted into serial equivalent schedule, concurrent schedule to serial equivalent schedule by checking for the conflict of the statements, then we can say that that schedule is equivalent to the that schedule is a conflict serializable. So uh, still people are joining. So here a two-phase locking says that whatever schedules are there. So okay, first let me show you how to convert a given conflict schedule to a serializable schedule. So I will use the existing schedule. Okay, right now we will only discuss about, it means first let me convert this schedule into a, let me write one schedule. Consider that T1 is transferring 50 from account A to B and T2 transaction is willing to perform uh, 10% from A to B. Okay, read A. So this will perform A equal to A minus 50. Write A. Then this will read B. So we wanted to achieve concurrent schedules. So this I will, ten percent of A, then deducting A's amount, and then writing that result. Right. Okay. And as we wanted to show this serializable schedule, so this is the first part. So this will be the another part. This will read data item B. Will add 50 to the B. And same operation here also. Instead of 50, we are using a 10th variable. Okay, so this is a concurrent schedule, which is a conflict serializable equivalent. So conflict, it means that if consider we are able to exchange these two statements, if they don't have म्हणजे त्या दोन स्टेटमेंटचा जर इफेक्ट जर मॅटर करत असेल एकमेकांवर तर वी कॅन चेक. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, if this write operation and read operation, या दोघांमध्ये if consider initially I'm having value of b as 100. If 100 is the value, 50 is added to the value. So this will read the value as 150. Okay, it means sequence matters. And if consider this read b is above, that is read b is reading the value before writing. Okay, then this will read the value of b as 100. It means that those statements whose sequence matters, those we can say that this is a conflict statement. Conflict statement says that if either of the two is right or both are right, then we can say that these two are conflict. So read B and write B, these are conflict statements. Now let us come to this part and this part. Now read B and write A. Are these conflict statements? Write A and read B. Are these conflict statements? या दोघांचा सिक्वेन्स मॅटर करतो का की रीड बी कुठली व्हॅल्यू राईट करणार आणि ए राईट केल्यावर काय होईल? आर दीज टू स्टेटमेंट्स कॉन्फ्लिक्ट? या दोघांचा सिक्वेन्स मॅटर करतो का? कुठला आधी झाला आणि कुठला नंतर झाला ते? No one is answering. Yes, no. Okay, I'll give the answer. So here, write read B. This will read the initial value as B. Write A is going to perform changes to the A. मग माझं रीड बी आधी एक्झिक्यूट झालं किंवा राईट ए झालं, डझंट मॅटर, कारण की ए आणि बी, दीज टू आर माय डिफरंट स्टेटमेंट्स. And hence order of this write A and read B doesn't matter to me. पण या केसमध्ये राईट बी आणि रीड बी या दोघांमध्ये मॅटर करतो. So conflict serializable says that if we are able to change or interchange statements without modifying the actual result, then we can say that that schedule is a serializable schedule. तर मी काय करेन की हे राईट ए जे आहे ते इथं मूव्ह करेन, paste, and whatever read b is there, I will move from this and will write here. Yes, at this point. म्हणजे मी काय केलं की रीड बी आणि राईट ए हे दोघं एक्सचेंज केलं. मग पुन्हा बी इक्वल टू बी प्लस 50 आहे, राईट ए आहे. या दोघांमध्ये तर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नाही, कारण की बी पण माझा वेगळा मेंबर आहे, ए पण माझा वेगळा मेंबर आहे. सो वेन आय विल एक्सचेंज दीज टू, माझं मी वर घेऊन जाईल आणि राईट ए माझं इथं आलं. राईट बी अँड राईट ए या दोघांमध्येही कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नाही. हा, यू माइट बी थिंकिंग दॅट बोथ आर राईट, देन हाऊ यू आर सेइंग दॅट दीज आर नॉट conflict? Just because they are operating or they are performing operations on a different data items. Okay, हे दोघंही different data items वर perform करतात and hence we can say that these two are not conflict. Write A आणि write B. Write B माझा B एक डेटा आयटम चेंज करणार, राईट ए माझा दुसरा डेटा आयटम चेंज करणार. त्यामुळे यानं आधी केलं किंवा यानं आधी केलं डझंट मेक अ डिफरन्स. And hence we can interchange those statements. And interchanging it means that we can move this to this part and database will also have the same effect as the previous. म्हणजे मी राईट एज आहे ते इथे घेतलं. Similarly, all these operations are taken on B and all these operations are done on A. It means this part and this part is not conflict, and hence I can make this part before this, and after this I can execute this part. Okay, so now let me check. This transaction T1 has been completed, and after completion of T1, my T2 transaction started execution. It means there is a serial execution. T1 नंतर माझा T2 एक्झिक्यूट झाला, म्हणजे माझं जे कॉन्करंट शेड्यूल जे होतं ते मी एका सिरियल शेड्यूल मध्ये कन्वर्ट केलं. And hence we can say that this schedule is a conflict serializable schedule. जर दोन स्टेटमेंट मध्ये जर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नसेल तर मी इंटरचेंज करून आहे ते शेड्यूल माझे एका कॉन्करंट शेड्यूल मध्ये इंटरचेंज करू शकतो. Okay, this is the concept of conflict serializability. So our explanation says that जर समजा आपण बेसिक लॉकिंगचा जर प्रोटोकॉल सॉरी स्ट्रिक्ट टू फेज लॉकिंगचा जर प्रोटोकॉल यूज केला, then we cannot achieve the conflict serializability. So if there are conflict serializable schedules, that cannot be obtained if two phase locking is used. समजा आपण टू फेज लॉकिंग जर यूज केलं तर जे काय माझे जे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट सिरियलायझेबल शेड्यूल जे आहे ते तुम्हाला टू फेज लॉकिंग यूज करता येत नाही. टू फेज लॉकिंग म्हणजे मी एक्सक्लुझिव्ह लॉक टाकलं इथं अनलॉक केलं, इथे एक शेअर्ड लॉक टाकलं इथं अनलॉक केलं अँड सो ऑन. सो टू फेज लॉकिंग सेज दॅट इनिशियली आपल्याला सगळे लॉक ऑप्टेन करावे लागतात, नो रिलीज ऑफ द लॉक्स, and shrinking phase, no releasing, no locks acquisition, only unlocking the members. So we are having mixed statement. इथं लॉक केलंय, इथं अनलॉक केलंय, परत इथं लॉक केलंय, इथं अनलॉक केलंय. And hence we can say that this schedule is not a conflict serializable schedule. म्हणजे एक तर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट असेल तर टू फेज लॉकिंग मध्ये नसणार, आणि टू फेज लॉकिंग मध्ये असेल तर मग आपण इक्वलंट सिरियल एक्झिक्युशन मध्ये कन्वर्ट करू शकत नाही. ओके, सो in absence of extra information, for example ordering of access of data, two phase locking is necessary for conflict serializability also. म्हणजे आपल्याला conflict serializability सुद्धा achieve करायची. So given a transaction Ti that does not follow two phase locking, we can find a transaction Tj that uses two phase locking and schedule for Ti and Tj that is not conflict serializable. So here we might think that T2's म्हणजे T1 ना जरी यूज नाही केली तर T2 ना तरी ऍटलिस्ट टू फेज लॉकिंग यूज करायला हवं. ओके, read this for a while, schedule and explanation. Okay, done. So today we will revise. There are only 4 minutes remaining. So let us revise what we have covered. So we started with the seventh chapter, that is concurrency control. So concurrency control mechanism is required for the achieving the isolation. So there are total 5 points are there. So first we are started with the lock-based protocols. So locking is required in order to achieve a concurrency control. So for achieving the concurrency, whenever multiple transactions are trying to access the same data member, then locks need to be acquired to use that data item. So there are two types of the locks are there, shared and exclusive. So exclusive lock is used for reading and writing both operations, and shared lock is used only for a reading purpose. So based on the compatibility, so concurrency control manager will decide whether to lock the request or that is grant the request of lock or not to lock. If lock is not acquired by the transaction, then transaction cannot proceed with the further execution. For using a data item, acquiring the lock, that is a must mandatory condition, and hence transaction keeps on waiting unless and until a grant request comes from a concurrency control manager. And hence at this point we achieve a concurrency, that is mutually exclusive data members only are allowed to access, and hence isolation we are achieving, and that will result into keeping the database into consistent state. So based on that, there are multiple locking protocols are there. So basic says that initial phase locking all the data members and using those data members, and shrinking phase is the phase where locks will be unlocked. That is, locks will be released. So there are two variations are there in the locking based protocols. That is strict two-phase locking and rigorous two-phase locking. Strict two-phase locking says that we should have all the exclusive lock release at the up to the commit. That shared locks will be held by a transaction up to the commit or abort statement. And rigorous two-phase locking says that all the locks need to be taken, that is hold by a transaction up to the commit or abort statement. So strict two-phase locking is more strict form as compared to the basic two-phase locking, and more than that, rigorous is a more strict form. So most of the databases use rigorous two-phase locking and refer that as a simple two-phase locking protocol. That acquiring all the locks initially and releasing all the locks before the commit or abort statement. Again, we have seen a deadlock condition. Deadlock, it means that there is a circular waiting of transactions for locking the data items, and hence this will result into deadlock, that system may going to hang state. And for this purpose, prevent that in order to come out of the to handle a deadlock, either of the transaction should be chosen and that transaction need to be rolled back. So for this purpose, a victim is chosen. There are various ways which transaction should act as a victim. So shortest transaction, or the last one to start, or the last one in the circle, etc. Many ways are there. So a victim is chosen. So care is taken by concurrency control manager that starvation should not happen. Starvation, that the same transaction should not be chosen always for a rollback. And also in case of granting of request, sequence of shared lock should not be allowed so that exclusive lock transaction should go for a starvation. So this care is taken by a uh, concurrency control manager. So at this point, we will stop our lecture. So all the best to all the students, those who are having examination.